So today I'm going to be reviewing Quibi. It's a new app that just came out on April 6th. Many of you may have not even heard of it. I've gotten so many ads for it, so if you're on like social media and stuff, you've probably seen it by now unless I'm just their ultra target customer. So what is it? Quibi is another streaming app like Netflix or Hulu, and right now they are only making original content. The twist with this one is that everything is under 10 minutes. So most of them end up being around 7 minutes long. So I think this is a platform that's really geared towards millennials and Zoomers, kind of just like a high-end alternate to YouTube. And in my mind, it seems like when they saw that all these famous people start getting on YouTube, someone started freaking out, realizing that they weren't making money off of this. Right now, the first 3 months of Quibi are free because it just started, so there's no reason really not to try it. The with ads version is $5 and the without ads is $8. So we'll get into later whether I think it works or not, but I did watch every single show on the platform. I did a few Google searches on this, and it looks like their budget for this app was $1.75 billion, which is insane. So I'm really interested to see what happens with this app. I split up all the shows into different categories, and then I'm going to start reviewing them from worst to best. Kind of you get a sense of what the platform is kind of made up of. So first I'll start off with the cinematic ones. Like I said, these are also the ones that I don't think a lot of them work that well. It really just feels like they cut up a movie, and that just doesn't really work for a lot of this stuff. I mean, if you really enjoy that, you could just go watch a feature film on Netflix and watch 7 minutes at a time, but I don't think that's the most interesting way to watch it. Anyway, so first up, Dangerous Game. This has Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz in it, and it is basically just a normal Hollywood action film. Survive. This is a suicidal girl who gets in a plane crash and she survives it. Again, it's just kind of hard to keep that energy going throughout the show when you're cutting every 7 minutes, but yeah, it looks good. The Stranger. This one's kind of a thriller horror type film. Free Ray is about an African-American man who seems to be wrongfully accused of shooting a police officer. When the streetlights go on, it's kind of this thriller horror about teenagers. 50 States of Fright. This one's kind of different from all of them, but I really like the idea of this one. It's like a horror thing, but it's not really horror as much as it is like campfire stories, and so they're just kind of these weird stories that you might have told as a kid. Now I'm gonna move on to some of the dumber content on the app. They have a ton of like news shows. This is something you can find like anywhere on the internet. So there's Morning Report and Around the World by BBC. These are just normal news things. There's Close Up by E! News. This is celebrity news. Last Night's Late Night, which is news about late night shows. TMZ. The Weather Channel, Pop 5, it's like pop music. For the Cultura and Pulso News are both shows about Latino culture and Latino news. Speedrun is gamer news. Replay by ESPN is sports. And The Fresh Daily by Rotten Tomatoes is movie news. The next category is kind of like lifestyle videos. A lot of this stuff just feels like one step higher than YouTube. The worst of these was All the Feels. The episode I watched was literally just like cat videos filmed on an iPhone. Second worst was The Daily Chill, and this was just stock footage with a soothing voiceover. The Rachel Hollis show just seemed like normal stereotypical encouragement stuff. Nod was a show talking about black cultures, and Sexology was about sex tips and relationship advice. Next category, a lot of this felt like TV shows that already exist, and they kind of copied them and shortened it. So some of these maybe you'll be into, and I just wasn't. Nightgowns is about drag queens and like a show that they're putting on, and I don't understand it at all. Fight Like a Girl was WWE female stars training women on how to feel empowered, and they would just kind of like help them work out and dress up and stuff, and then be like, look. On the episode I watched, they brought the woman out on the stage after she feels empowered. They brought her ex-husband out as well, and it just made it super awkward. And I just don't know what they were thinking with that. Fierce Queens. This one had the most unnecessary celebrity involvement in it, I thought. It's like an Animal Planet type show, but hosted by Reese Witherspoon. And then the weirdest thing is they tried to put this twist on it at the end where following these two female cheetahs, and they're like, at the end, they kill the antelope, and she's like, man, growing up as a teenage girl is hard, but just like these cheetahs over here, you can do it too. And it was like, what? The Sauce was a hip-hop dance competition. Murder House Flip was a house fixer-up show, but in a house where people were murdered. Let's Roll. A guy makes different cool ways to smoke weed and smokes them with famous people. It's a pretty good setup for a show, but I still didn't find it that interesting. Skirt is like a hip hop show about cars. It's okay. Elbow versus Block. This is another car show. is another one where I felt like the celebrity was just shoved in there for no reason. So Block is some famous race car driver, and then Idris Elba is against him, and it's all in racing competitions. So that doesn't really make sense. I only watched one episode of it, but the race car driver obviously beat him pretty bad. And it just doesn't seem like there's any chance that Idris Elba will ever win any of these. Seems like they didn't feel like anyone would want to watch two race car drivers battle it out. So they're like, let's just shove Idris Elba in there and we'll bill him as a quick learner and maybe he'll win something. Singled out is Quibi's dating show. And this one was kind of okay. So like the main person on the dating show is has their back to all of the contestants. All the contestants are like people that the person knows in real life. The episode I watched was just like so fast paced and yeah, very sexual. So it's an interesting dating show. Okay, these top two are probably the only two that I actually really enjoyed from this category. Dismantled is a cooking show with a really, really smart twist. I really like this one. Also, cooking shows feel too long to me to begin with, so having them at 7 minutes felt proper and like good. But the twist is that the two chefs competing just get blasted with like a cannon of the food. So it's just like all this like food goop goes all over them and they're blindfolded and they have to taste it and then try and figure out what the dish is based on what they tasted, make that dish, and the person who gets the most ingredients right is the winner. So that was just kind of a really fun twist, I thought, and I enjoyed watching this. The last one of this category is Gone Mental with Lior. This one I probably had the most fun with. It's a mentalist Lior, and he goes around with like famous people and just does like these kind of magic tricks of the mind on them. So the last two I think are probably the best categories, which is the mini docs and the comedies. So starting off with the mini docs, I think this one works really well. A lot of these don't feel like you need to watch them in one sitting, and they feel pretty well edited for that 7-8 minute mark. Probably my least favorite of these was I Promise. LeBron James like helps make this new public school, and it still sounds pretty interesting, but it just was like felt pretty slow and kind of boring. Like it wasn't really giving me any substantial stuff. It just kind of felt like B-roll footage of these kids going to school and then the teachers talking about how they're gonna shake up the industry. Other one that I wasn't super huge on was Thanks a Million. The premise is that one famous person gives someone that has touched their lives $100,000, and then they tell that person they have to give half of it to someone else, and then that person has to give half to someone else. It's kind of this chain reaction like people do at fast food drive-thrus. So if you like that kind of like feel-good content, I think this one is pretty good. The next one is You Ain't Got These. It's a documentary about sneaker culture, and I don't really know anything about sneaker culture, so this one interested me. This one felt really like fast-paced, edited, and like they knew what they were doing, and they have a lot of content. So yeah, I like that one. And Music explores the stuff that goes behind the music industry. So they go over like the lighting and the fashion and the writing behind music and everything, and explore how those support the music industry. Prodigy is about these young up-and-coming athletes who are just really on top of their game right now and just killing it. Shape of Pasta was one of my favorites. It's about a guy who owns a pasta restaurant in LA. So it follows him taking this trip to Italy and finding these little towns with old grandmas so that they can teach him how to make these different shapes of pasta that are like dying out. It's kind of fun that it combines like travel and food. Run This City was probably my favorite mini doc. It follows Jaisal Correa, who is the youngest mayor in Massachusetts history, and it just talks about him becoming mayor and everything that goes along with that. And I thought it was really interesting because it's just such like a small town politics. The last category is the comedy category. This is probably the best. I think it works the best on the app, and almost all of them I liked. That said, Punk'd is probably the worst of this category. If you like prank videos, you'll like it, but I just wasn't that interested in it. Game Show. Game Show is two straight guys competing to see who is the most gay, and I just thought that was a really funny setup, and I liked it. The style of comedy in Nikki Fresh is hard to define, but I thought it was pretty funny, and they did some really funny music videos in it as well. Memory Hole is really just a well done YouTube commentary video with Will Arnett. It just goes through like really cringy old videos. Christie's Court is not something I really expected to enjoy, but I really did. I think this one could appeal to pretty much everyone. It's the normal small claims court show, but with Chrissy Teigen as a judge. And so it's like made into a comedy, but they say that the decisions are legally binding. And it's just a fun, like good idea for a show, I think. Agua Donkeys is not one that I expect everyone to really enjoy. It's really deadpan humor, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, but I really thought it was funny. Probably the best one, which is one that they advertise a lot, is Flipped. This one stars Caitlin Olsen and Will Forte, and I think they're really funny in it, and I think the setup for it is funny as well. It's about this couple who want to become house flippers, but then they accidentally get involved with the cartel, and the cartel holds them hostage so that they can renovate their houses, and that's a really good setup for a show. And one interesting thing about the platform is that it's only available on mobile devices, so because of that, you have the option to flip it horizontal or vertical, and it will flip right when you flip the phone, which I think is a really cool idea. I don't know how much you would use it. So yeah, after watching everything, I really think that the comedies, mini docs work the best. So is this app worth it? I do really like the idea of having something short and quick that's high quality that I can just watch. You might have just a few minutes, you're filling up gas, have like a 10-minute break from work, or I mean, let's be honest, you're taking a dump. You might just need like a solid short little video to watch during those few minutes you have free. That said, I don't really see many people being able to justify paying for it. I just don't really know if people can find value in videos this short. It still just feels weird paying for such small bits of content. I mean, when you compare the $8 a month that this costs without ads to Netflix's $9 a month, and Netflix has a billion times more content on it. So I think for them to succeed, they're gonna have to figure out some kind of way to either lower the price or use more ads or something. Let's see, let's rate this. So right now it has a 3.7 stars. I'm gonna go right in the middle right now and give it 3 stars. Okay, I got it. Quibi, more like quit charging so much and maybe I will buy it. Got him. So like I said, it's got 3 months free. I'd recommend trying it out. Let me know in the comments if anyone else has watched any, because I haven't talked to anyone who has. I'd love to hear some other people's thoughts on it. I spent a lot of time watching every episode on this app, so if you could subscribe, that'd be super lit. Bye bye.